It's good to be back with you.
Nice to see you. Good evening to you. It is early Saturday evening at the time of this recording. For me, it's late Friday evening for you, early Saturday
Mhm.
morning for me. Uh, and as soon as they stop changing the clocks, it'll make it easier for my scheduler to coordinate me with all my guests. And I understand we've about to pass a bill, or we have, or something of the sort that'll stop the savings time thing. I'm real happy about that. Small little benefit of President Trump's administration. Anyway, Sheila, what I'd like to do here, and to our audience, we're going to cover points 40 and 41 in Sheila's body of work. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get there, I'd like you to weigh in, Sheila, on some of the events that have transpired since you and I met last month. Uh, Before we continue again our ongoing series of countering of the 45-point plan to destroy America as outlined in your books. So here we go. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to throw a few things at the white marker board and then have you weigh in. So here we go, folks. In the last month since Sheila and I gathered here, um, these are just some of the key things that I've observed from my 40,000 foot view of kind of what's taking place, and each and every one of them are kind of big stories in and of themselves, and it paints a picture. And I'd like to see what picture you see, Sheila, with these bullets. Here we go, folks. Data centers emerging, the good, the bad, and the ugly about that. Federal Reserve and IRS on life support. It's almost over. And the new currency, as shown to us by our president and by the Treasury Department, coming soon. Many people are actors, and they're leaving the script. You've got dozens of congressmen and women that will not be running for reelection. You've got many dropping out through the primaries, and you've got people just leaving the Trump administration, Bondi, Gabbard, and others, to name a few. You've got massive turnover of rhinos and Democrats losing seats, and masks gone wild. We all saw that viral video on Fox News of the retired military member with the mask clearly shown. And the fact that Fox is showing that is another question to ask. We have Comey's arrest with Brennan up next. We got the DNI release of election theft. We have aliens.gov. Aliens.gov. Go check it out. The rededication to God and the call to prayer launched and ongoing, and the anticipated announcements of the celebrations of our 250th of July 4th. So there it is. There's the marker board, Sheila. When we take the culmination of what each of those bullets represent, when you look at that from a 40,000 foot view, how would you describe where we are right now in our fight to restore the republic, return sovereignty to the individuals as intended by God? Because that's really what we're all doing here. And these are the manifestations and the barriers to attaining that. All that stuff I threw at the marker board. What's your view, Sheila? Where are we at? What's happening?
We're right on track in all of the layers, but everything has to move at the speed it needs to move. Everyone wants it to happen faster, and I've said from the very beginning, this isn't something that can be dealt with quickly because it's permeated every single aspect of our lives, and so you're noticing that the fraud is everywhere, the corruption is everywhere. The currency is going to be changing. People want to know when. That timing is not until it is. It's not. Everything's going to be the way it is. Everyone wants to know what happened with the corporation ending the end of March, or toward the end of March, that was taken care of. So now what's going to happen in the States? And the problem is people are wanting Trump to fix everything, and Trump can't he's not here to fix everything. He's not a king, he's not a monarch, he's not a dictator, and that's not what's going to be happening. Regarding these people resigning, we were told years ago that's what's going to happen. Watch for the
Yes.
resignations. And the people that are resigning, there's a reason why they're resigning. But all of that truth behind it is not going to be revealed yet. Again, you mentioned right up front that there's a psyche status with people that they can only handle so much at a time. And so the cleanup is going to be extensive, and it's not going to happen real quick. And it's not going to happen by July 4. Everybody thinks that all the horrible stuff's going to happen by July 4, and then it's golden age and everything's going to be wonderful. That
I know.
don't fool yourself. That is not how it's going to happen. And it's going to take decades to clean it up, but it's taken hundreds of years to make it this bad. And so everybody's working as fast as they can, but we all need to do our part. And so it's been miraculous the last 2 weeks. I was in DC, and then I was at the First Nations event in Kansas City. So a lot of that can be described as to where we're at in that, because we're going toward unity in points 41 and 40. Because again, the book had to be written backwards, researched backwards. 41 is to separate the children from the parents and the family, and then 40 itself is to discredit the family and destroy the family unit and structure. So,
Mhm.
and they've been real successful at all of this when we look at these points
Oh,
and
yeah.
figures. But before we get to that, I'm going to surprise you with some information, and it's going to be like a sandwich. You're going to hear things from the beginning that happened in DC, and it's going to be the same thing with the Native Americans the next weekend. It has been a powerful, powerful time. So I think that Michael is ready.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sheila. Walk us through this. Oh, boy, that looks
Well,
nice.
it was like being at the State of the Union the whole time. This is at the Bible Museum. And at the Bible Museum, they gave us a tour, and then we had a dinner. And the video in the dinner on the wall was all about the pilgrims. And what was really amazing is right now they have the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit. I've seen it before, but they had it there. And the question came up about Enoch, that Enoch was lifted up. And so at the end, you know me, I was trying to be quiet, and I raised my hand a little bit toward the tour guide, and he said, "What's going on?" And I didn't realize there were so many people in there who already knew that we had talked about these kind of things on the interviews. And so I was telling them that Enoch was not just lifted up, Enoch and Methuselah were taken up with the Father right before the flood. But Lamech, the father of Noah, didn't have such a good life, wasn't such a good guy. And so he had died many years before, but the grandfather Enoch and the great grandfather Methuselah, who lived 969 years, the longest living person, they and the guy looked at me and he goes, so do you know our Bible scholar? And I said, no, sir, I don't know your Bible scholar. And then he named 3 other Bible scholars. And we were talking privately in the hallway as we were going to the next exhibit. And he was asking me all these questions. Little did I know, I get down to the dinner, and you see that's my name, that's my place setting, and that's how beautiful the whole room was. And there were over 300 people there for a private dinner. And this guy and his wife, beautiful couple, comes up to me and he starts asking me all these questions. And I said, sir, I was just talking privately to the tour guide. I'm not trying to cause any problems. And he said, well, I heard you say something unique. And I said, what was that? And he said, when we named all the Bible scholars, you said, no, I didn't work with any of those. And when he said, when he asked, he said, you were just like the president. It's the boss. I get everything from the boss. And so I don't go to Bible scholars. And God said they lean on Bible scholars for their truth instead of coming to me. And I only go to him. And so then he said, well, have you heard anything else? And I said, well, the Panama Canal. And so he said, oh, well, I'm being called up front. He goes up front. It's the president of the whole Bible Museum. Now they want to know about the books and the
Wow.
information, etc. So that was the first night. Then the next morning we had a prayer breakfast, and you're going to recognize the man who was in charge of the prayer breakfast, because he became a viral person immediately before he was even done with his few words at the inauguration of the president. So I don't know, Michael, the next then that is Lorenzo, Pastor Lorenzo. And Lorenzo brought his mentor, that's his bishop in the suit. And so I took a quick picture of them. And as soon as that prayer breakfast was done, they were immediately ushering us out. And we had a long walk because we had to get all the way to the back of the lines to go through. So even though we were in a special guest, special tags, special ability to get through, the lines were so long, it took another 2.5 hours to get through the whole process. So the next, Michael, we can keep going through these. The next one, this is when I left the prayer breakfast and I'm walking. Here comes Donald Stewart III, who's in the Crow Nation in southeast Montana. And he said, from the conversations that he heard in there, he said, I think we're going to be brother and sister. And I said, Father is over us, and with Father, we are brother and sister. And so he walked me all the way to the mall for the 250 event. And then there's the 200 Freedom 250. And we were sitting to the far right. All of the people with us we had chairs. A lot of people were out on the lawn behind us. It was such a powerful event. And the most amazing part was they inserted the video of the president saying the Second Chronicles 7 from 11 to 22 that he read over the internet and over TV back when they were doing the reading of the Bible. So that day was completely amazing. Then the very next morning, we end up being surprised, and that was at AFPI for a Q&A. That's the next photo, Michael. And that is Martin Gillespie, who is top admin over at AFPI, doing a Q&A with Sean Spicer. And then the Sean Spicer book, they ended up doing a book signing for us, The Revolution That Will Permanently Transform America. President Donald J. Trump, and here's what's funny: he's got 45th and 47th U.S. president. And remember, we covered from last fall when he confirmed to the military, "I've been your president 45, 46, and 47." But it was
Yes.
it was powerful that he signed his book for us. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. And then the next one, Michael. Now we're at the Native American, and I was 3 days with them. We had 2 days of private honorings. And the night that I arrived, we had a dinner and everything the Thursday night. And then the next morning, we had some free time to socialize with each other. And then we had a full afternoon and evening of another dinner and honoring of all of these amazing leadership within the Native American tribes. And these First Nations, they had a man who was raised in the Arctic Circle, and he's an Inuit chief now, and he's living just below the Arctic Circle. And he was the one who they said won the award for coming the farthest. But when I gave my book series, because Clifton Pettit, the Cherokee chief you see in this picture, back in 2017, early 2017, someone in Georgia mailed my first book in the series. And the day he got it, he made his wife and his sister, who were also at this event. So I got to see all three of them, and now two of their daughters, Clifton and Pauline's daughters. And so I'm showing him the book series. I said, "You only got the first book," because within 24 hours, he put them in the car and alternating driving so they could be in Georgia, because this author, me, was leaving Georgia. Again, I kept saying that. And then everyone in every book in the series said how God brought me back to Georgia. And so he hadn't seen any of the other books. So I gave him the book series. I gave him the devotional. I gave him the new book that you showed, An Eternal Plan. And so he said, "And I have a surprise for you." So all of that was private Thursday and Friday. On Saturday, he showed up, and what he's wearing is the original Bible of the tribes of Israel. And that original Bible is called the Wampum, Wampum belt. And that's what he's wearing. And what you see to the right, Michael was able to put all of this in for us so you can see exactly what this means. So as you're looking on his left, which would be our right, looking at it, first letter is A for Aleph, and that is truth and life. If you stay with the Father in a tight relationship, the Lord over all, and then remember that he sent you to the world as a gift with special gifts to help it be in the world as it is in heaven. Remember the prayer? That it become on earth as it is in heaven. And so those are the first two letters. And then you see the two people joining hands, and that's unity of believers. And as we keep unifying together and in the blessing cycle, and Father's blessing us, then people go, "Well, who is this Father who blesses you?" Because none of us have a God who blesses us. And that's the conversation that's been missing, because we don't even share testimonies. And then as you watch those white tiles right in the middle, on that wampum belt, only the white tiles start in that first section. And as it goes all the way to the end of the belt, that design at the end means heaven. And only those white tiles go in, because it's a narrow gate, a narrow path. And only those who are tight with the Father, operating with him, doing as what needs to happen in the world so it can become as it is in heaven. And that's because the souls are what is important. And so how powerful was it seeing this? And then in the next slide, you'll see Mary Faust. And Mary Faust came up. She was so excited to hear some of the things that I was sharing the first night. And she had a special prayer that she had read in her language and then in English. And the prayer is next. Michael. And this prayer was called A Power to Forgive. And it was read by her, and the whole Native First Nations gathered together in DC in February and in December 2016 when they noticed that President Trump was speaking truth and speaking what needed to happen and calling these people out as to what had happened. And the prayer is so powerful, but right in the section, let me see here. Okay, in the very first paragraph, and I don't know if we can enlarge this, Michael, or not, but in the first paragraph where it says, we forgive the government, the church, and the educational system for the use of residential schools that it attempted to destroy our culture, silence our voice as people by stealing our language. Does that not sound familiar for all of us in America? And this
Mhm.
was so powerful
Yep,
because they said,
powerful.
we the people, the host people of this great nation, and the original lovers of this land, stand united in one heart and mind to bring the power for forgiveness to bear. As the host people of Turtle Island, we forgive every atrocity and broken covenant ever designed to destroy us as a race of people. We break every curse, renounce every lie, purposed to decimate us as human beings. And then I told you about government, church, education. Those are the three things we have to change. We stand in the gap for those who are unable, or unwilling to forgive. And we call upon the master of life to forgive us for harboring unforgiveness, resentment, hatred, bitterness, and rage. We repent of every curse spoken over America by our ancestors, and we release the power of forgiveness to bring healing and the peace of the Creator God to this land. I mean, this fits for May 17, and
Beautiful.
they did it back in 2016. We declare and decree that
Wow.
our voice will no longer be silenced, that this nation and the world will hear our voice as we speak life and blessings over the Americas and the world. We stand in faith, believing that our citizenship lies in heaven, and we too all await the return of our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Being all of one mind and heart, having compassion for one another, we declare our love as brothers, not returning evil for the evil perpetrated against us, but on the contrary, we choose to release a blessing, knowing that the Father of us all has called us as his children to bless and not curse, that we may inherit a blessing. Amen, which means our Lord, our Father, is a faithful King. This was so profound. I wanted to include this because we could have been saying this at the event in DC. And what was beautiful is at the Bible Museum, they had a video on the wall to the side of us. And that video was focused on the pilgrims. President Trump did the repent and restore scriptures out of Second Chronicles 7, from 11 to 22 that he said on the internet and over TV. And then I come and they bring out the original Bible, which says the same thing. And Clifton Pettit confirmed what people don't remember. We didn't even have the Gospels on this land except for the pilgrims bringing it to us. So when it was printed and they came, they brought it with them. And so that's the whole
Mhm.
sandwich where we are all ready to reconcile and unite together and get this job done. And they were doing that because they saw the difference that was possible from the Father by doing this in 2016 over this land to release so that President Trump could come in. How powerful. Just so, so powerful.
Very
And that
powerful.
unity is what we're going to talk about, them doing the disunity with our families, because when you destroy family structure and unity, you don't have any unity.
Sure.
You don't have nothing in your country has unity or connection. And if
Mhm.
they isolate us, divide and conquer. And that's how a dictatorship and monarchy always works. Keep dividing the people, divide, and that's exactly what they've done to us.
They've
So
begun, as you well know, in my opinion, they've begun ripping the family unit to shreds probably in the
mhm,
mid late 60s, certainly the early 70s by then. I recall that very specifically. And and they did a good job. Look at the mess we're in. And that's going to be changed, but that is where we're at. And
mhm,
it's also strewn throughout some of the points, 17, I think it is, points of the UN Agenda 2030.
Mhm.
When you look at some of those points, there's a few points in there that, yeah, they don't say it, but what it translates to is destroy the family unit. and
Mhm.
and so yeah, it is an orchestrated mission of theirs that, again, I say began whenever women's libs started, and I'm not a bigot or any of those things, but I think our audience is smart enough to understand what I'm talking about, what they did back then, separating men from women, leaving the kids to be raised by
Mhm.
the government and television, and leave
Mhm.
them to the state. And then that was the tip of the iceberg. Now here we are with what, 70 genders and all kinds of
Mhm.
insanity. Uh, People don't stay married, and we've
4,200
all dealt with
religions.
that. Yeah.
Just
So,
everything is just multiples of just division, 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 divide, divide.
mhm. Before
So,
you get
but
into
yeah.
before you get into the family thing, I want to pedal back to a couple of quick comments back to earlier on in our broadcast, uh, about, yes, timing of things. I want to feed your notion there, and it is accurate. I interview a lot of different people, and some people feel that from the signals we've been given and some dates that have even been floated by the administration in various ways, that a currency, a lot of people are anticipating it in June or July. And Juan, on the other hand, who we spoke with yesterday in our private uh, Patriot Q&A, is on the other side of that, saying, it's not going to happen before July 4th. And so my comment to everyone listening is, it's going to happen. And the fact that we're dismantling the Federal Reserve and the IRS, restoring sovereignty and sound money to we the people, is unbelievable. I never thought I'd see this in this lifetime, and here it is. And so let's just be grateful of that. When it happens, it happens. June, July, November, who knows? Other quick comment. You mentioned, yeah, I mean, we are all struggling, many folks in America, for a host of reasons, and but help is on the way. We're getting, you think about all the taxes that will be gone, the president's talked about, certainly the federal income tax being the big one at some point. You've got sound money, you've got breakthroughs in uh, healing technologies, including med beds. You've got so many good things, very close to dripping into our lives and society, bringing God back, focusing on restoring our republic. I mean, we are going to get the relief we need, and we just need to be patient, prayerful, be prepared, and plan. Last comment I wanted to follow up on was Sean Spicer. Great book, I'm sure, fantastic. But you want to know something, Sean? If you put the dash in between that 45
Mhm.
and 47, you'll probably even sell
Mhm.
more books.
Mhm.
Anyway, some little feedback there, but that's an extraordinary event you attended, and very uplifting for obvious reasons. But why don't you, to the new folks that are coming aboard, in Sheila's published work that I alluded to in the beginning, and we'll close out with later, countering the 45-point plan to destroy America from within. This body of work, in part, reveals the structure required for current generations to secure and retain liberty and freedom, and not allow enemies, both foreign and certainly domestic, to destroy
Mhm.
America for future generations. So last month, as we've been doing our series, we've been covering, we started at 45, 44, 40. We're down to now points 41 and 40. As relates to
Mhm.
some of the things you've been talking about, I'll turn the
Mhm.
airwaves over to you. Walk us through these one at a time. What are they? And uh, what are we doing about this problem of disrupting the family unit?
Um, I'm going to make just a comment about the currency first. Do you know that people are
Sure,
sending
sure.
out currency with these pictures, currency with this signature? And do you know what it's on the top? It's called the Federal Victory Note. People don't understand how easy
Ooh,
it is to Photoshop in Federal Reserve Note to Federal Victory Note, and they think it's real and it's going to be happening. It's going to be issued. And I can tell you, you're wasting your time. It's a total distraction. We're not going to federal notes. We're going to real currency.
that's right.
Our Constitution
That's
is
right.
real currency. I'm also going to warn people again about the Republic. People keep saying that some of the states have reestablished the Republic. Not true. That cannot happen. There are people out there that are gathering a few people together for a meeting in their house and deciding who the interim people are running their state. That you have to have 2/3 of your people in your state agree to that if you're taking on a state position. Same in the county, same in
Mhm.
the village, same in the town, same in the city. So please be cautious of that, because if you try and create another government when there's a government in position, insurrection and sedition are two words you're going to want to look up, because those have severe criminal consequences. And so, because that's
They
exactly
do.
what that is. We also have somebody who's rather famous, and I'm going to say this out publicly again. That man actually had people paying him and to reestablish the republic. And he said he's doing it with Trump's attorneys and et cetera, et cetera. But here's what's really unusual: they invested in shares. How do you invest in shares in a government structure of republic? And they're going to be listed as founding members of the country, of founding, like, forefathers of the new Republic of America. When the Republic is already there, we just had to remove the corporation that put itself over the top of the Republic. We were formed as a Republic for America, for which our flag stands. So these people invested with him, and I said, do you not realize that that means that you're in another corporation? And they said, what do you mean? I said, shareholders are private corporations, stockholders are public corporation. So I'm going to say this publicly again: read the Constitution. If you're not aligned with the Constitution and you're getting involved in these things with these people, um, insurrection is a crime. Sedition is a crime. So please look up the terminology of that and what that entails, because if someone is buying shares with somebody being an owner of the new republic, that's another corporation, and they don't have a right to set up another corporation over America without 66% of America agreeing that that's what we want to do. We were formed as a republic. The people in America want our republic back, and that's what we're working on. And that's going to take time, but it's being done. So please be cautious, quit being distracted, and quit wanting to know things before they happen so you can start gossiping about what's going to happen. We've got to come back to the fact of, you and I have to get everything straightened out in our communities. We have to start uniting together with the people. We have to get our families united. That's what they've done, and they've destructed it. And so that's what we're heading into tonight. Anyone that has the book, you can start on page 295, because again, these go backwards. We're going to start on point 41, then go to point 40. The reason I'm doing two tonight is that these directly relate, and they're not heavy duty. They're minor, because we've got a lot more to do after we do these 2 points. And so point 41 is separate the children from the parents, the family. Emphasize the need to raise the children away from the negative influence of parents. Attribute all prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. Complete opposite of the Pilgrim Faith Monument. That's where the parents train up the child in the way they should go, with the grandparents mentoring. And we've lost all of this. And what they convince the children of is your parents and grandparents are going to die. The government's the only thing that's going to be here for you. It's been socialism, and this is from the beginning of our country. The Young Socialist People's Group started way back at the beginning of our country. Remember, they took us over before we were self-governing. We did that in point 43. And so when they set all this up, they set up for all of this to destroy, because we're not the only nation they've destroyed. They destroyed all the nations. All the nations in Europe have been dealing with this. All the nations, Spanish-American War. We're still dealing with the Spanish-American War because Spain and France and England thought they were taking over the whole world. They still say things. When President was just helping in Cuba and helping them figure things out, what was the headline? The headline was, when will America give back the land they stole in Cuba? We never stole any land in Cuba. We've been paying the lease on Guantanamo Bay since 1903, after we won a victory at San Juan Hill by the Rough Riders with President Teddy Roosevelt before he was president, before he was governor of New York. He was so successful, they made him governor of New York, and right after that, he was the president. That's in the late 1890s. And because we won that with the 17th Cavalry of New York, that's how they were so proud of him. Come be our governor in New York. And that's what he did. Guys, we don't know truth. And if you don't know truth, you can be convinced by these people and swayed by these people who just want to tell you stories, buying
Let me
shares.
interject
I mean,
on Cuba for a second. You
mm-hmm,
know, you have well, first off, you know, as we know, Raul Castro has been indicted. We have a CIA hotspot since the what 1950s, making life miserable forever under the yoke of communism. I'll tell you what, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Cuban person that isn't grateful for the operation that's unfolding, starting from Venezuela to Iran now into Cuba. It's going to be it's a wonderful thing, and we're watching piece by piece, among many other things, communism and dictatorships coming to an end. China's the big one. That's last. But anyway, I just want to interject that about the Cuba thing. Of course, as you stated, you mentioned we lease the land for Guantanamo Bay. I'm sure we pay our bills, and uh,
mm-hmm,
and so you're right about all these distractions. And I love how you brought up sedition and insurrection would be the price to pay for those that are trying to do what they're doing in the states. Good luck with
mm-hmm,
that program. It's not going to work. But you want to know why, folks? Because nothing can stop what's coming. And what's
mm-hmm,
coming is from God to Trump to the military to the White Hats and to the Sheila Holmes and we, the people of the
mm-hmm.
world. So good luck with those distractions. Sorry, I wanted to just get that off my chest. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, that's okay because the main thing is from the 40,000-foot view or 40 million foot view, it doesn't matter. No matter how
Mhm.
far you lift up above this, if you could just look at what's happening, everybody's trying to find out what's going to happen about the currency, what's going to happen about the elections, what's going to happen about who's going to be the next president, what's going to happen. All of that is out of our personal control. All of that is being handled by people who have this all planned out, and they're taking us through the process and they're protecting us during this process. So don't get in the
Mhm.
way of that or in the middle of that. You aren't going to know
Yes.
when the currency, and you aren't going to, so quit falling for these people giving you currency, quit falling for the people telling you these lies. And no matter how much I warn people, I get more emails after every time we do one of these programs because the people are still, when is the currency going to happen, when is it going to change, and are we going to keep the
Right.
post office in the structure it is, because I heard it's a corporation, it's not part of our government. Is all of it's going to get cleaned up, there is a plan, but it's not.
Yep.
We have too many domestic enemies that are in our, they're in our communities. It all has to be
Mhm.
dealt with in the proper way, and you and I can't do it. There are people available to do it. But what happened with this whole thing with separating the children from the parents, this is what the quotes have been: realize when you are becoming like your parents and change how you communicate and handle your situations so you do not become like your parents. Are you kidding me?
Oof.
Because too
Wow.
soon
What
do
an
they
opposite.
pass, and our grandparents pass, and then it's like I wish I would have had these conversations with them to see how they deal with these things, or who our history is, and what we know. I remember my dad, we took vacations, and every vacation was to relatives. I said, why do we do this? Everybody else gets to go and see sites. And father said, let me be clear with you: if you don't know who you are and where you're from, how are you going to know where you're going? And I thought, how profound is that? And that has made a world of difference with me because I know how Norwegian people are. I know how Scottish people are. I can understand how sometimes things have to be a certain way with me because in Norway, everything is perfected in a certain way. And that's the way my father was. And so, it's just, if we don't know those things, we don't understand ourselves. And then what happens is when they pass, we're all alone because the government wanting you to be with them is socialism. And that's what they drove us to.
Mhm.
And
And
so it,
as you well know, our parents and grandparents typically were our role models. These are the people
mhm,
you admired and, loved, of course, and looked up to. I mean, broadly speaking, not everyone had a good family, but that was a standard. I mean, I remember as a child, my father was the world to me, and
mhm,
what he said, you just took it to the bank, and you wanted to almost be like him as a child. The inspiration and so forth, the influence that a good parent has meant everything to the child and to the child's formation. And you're right, that has been stripped away big time from some of the statements you've just said a few moments ago, and it's pretty disgusting if you think about it. And it's very brilliant. You want to
Mhm.
destroy the human race? There, you just start there, and they've done a lot of damage, no question about it. But that's
Well,
going
and
to
look at the
change.
TV
Things are
commercials,
going to change.
get that barbecue apron off. That your parents would wear something like that. Go on in the house and change, and I'll watch your barbecue until you come back. You've got to quit being like your parents. It's in all the commercials too. I mean,
Wow.
it's a whole system against us that we just were not that aware of. And there's a
Hmm.
picture, Michael, because I'm going to be heading into the next point. This is where we were 100 years before. This is where we were in the early 1900s. That's how people got to school. And it's just a horse and buggy is how they got to school. And this is in the 1900s, 1920s. And then the roads, that's the Coast Highway in California. It's all wood. Men put that together. That wasn't pavement. That wasn't gravel. That wasn't any kind of road that we're used to. And it was in 1912 in California coast. And then look what Woodrow Wilson was doing at the same time, because that was 1912, 1913 is when they put us in the IRS, put us in the Federal Reserve, changed senators to 6 years when everybody was 2 years before. The terms were 2 years. It's not a mid-election. Midterm is not, no, it's not midterm because they weren't 4 years and 6 years. Do you see what I mean? So
Mhm.
calling it a
Yeah.
midterm, they've changed everything. And Woodrow Wilson did that. And look what he was busy doing, creating $100,000 bill for himself to have his own picture on it, et cetera, et cetera. At the same time, he was doing
Yeah.
all that to us. So I put that in as just kind of a perspective point. It's just a separate page
Hmm.
in between these 2 points. And
But
then we enter
right
into
now,
the, yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but if you just fun here for a moment, if we
yeah.
created an image, we would put an image up, replacing that with, of course, going from a good sense, some of the benefits of modern technology, better roads, this, that, the other thing, and
Mhm,
then on the bottom, uh, a treasury note, not a Federal Reserve note, a treasury note.
mhm,
And if President
mhm,
Trump's face is on that, I'd be very happy to see it. I don't want to see Ben Franklin go away. I can tell you that right now. I don't want to see any of
mhm,
those folks go away, but I'd like to see a new bill with the president on it. And that would be a nice contrast to what Woodrow Wilson did as he put the nail in the
mhm,
coffin for us. And we've been trapped in that box for
mhm,
113 years. And that is what
mhm,
we are breaking out of right now. And it's wonderful to
mhm.
see. I'm sorry. I'm
Quickly.
very
We're
passionate
doing it
about
quickly.
it. Yeah. Yes, we are. If you think it through, we absolutely are. Anyway, continue, please. Let's get to the points. I'm curious to talk a little bit more about what they've done in the family unit.
So in point 40 is discredit, destroy the family. Discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. And that's what the whole chapter is about. And I go through all the different things that they've changed. How
Mhm.
making the husband and wife both have to work in order to pay bills. And you mentioned some of this in the in between. And then give your children to somebody else in daycare. And then the daycare people
Mhm.
are not believers. The daycare people believe in other gods and goddesses. We didn't know. I mean, all these things that of training up a child in the way they should go were impacted by the
Mhm.
fact that the parents and grandparents weren't the influence and the mentors. And
Mhm.
so that's what happened. And
Yes.
did you know that, and this is on the first page of that chapter, did you know that Mark 10:9 and Mark 19:16 confirm, therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not men, separate. Did you know that most pastors won't even say those in the churches anymore? Because the church on Sunday is the venerable day of the sun, which is under Constantine, and that is pagan and Gentile worship and feasts and festivals. That's all that has to change too, which is why the focus of the rededication was the pilgrims, where they banned church for the 500 years because they knew it would take 500 years to get enough generations to know the truth, live by the truth, honor and unite with each other in truth, to never go back to where we are now. And it didn't quite last 250 years, because that's when we had the Civil War, and over 700,000 believing men were killed. And when they realized all they want to do is kill believing men, that's what all these wars have been about, then they just stopped and went home. And we've talked about that. So by not doing that, I mentioned that to somebody who was coordinating a wedding in North Carolina, and they said, well, certainly in North Carolina, the pastor is going to be saying that. So the couple thought, well, we'll check it out. So they went and met with the pastor, and the pastor said no. So they had to go to a justice of the peace, get the justice of the peace to say it, get married, then go have the church wedding. And so that people don't realize that's how far off we are. And did you know that something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, did you know that's all pagan? That has nothing to do with believing people for their weddings either. So a humanist church is no different in a church, because you're missing those too. And humanist weddings look exactly like a wedding you would have in a church. And so if you have it in a church and you don't do those scriptures where both families agree that we're going to unite together so that no man comes in with any gossip or outside information and destroys this relationship and this marriage, if that's not what you're doing, then you're not operating with the scriptures or with the Father. And so that's why I put some specific things in, because the influences of the world have been so intense. And with this structure, the main thing was to add the promiscuity. It's okay if you're with other people in intimate relationship while you're still married. And it's okay that you go ahead and make divorce easy, because if I'm done with you, I'm done with you. So and that's what's happened. The divorce rates are extremely high. The health rates because of it are extremely high. And the children don't have a father influence in the house with the direct connection with the Father in heaven. So there you have a breakage point between the Father in heaven and the children. And so they feel like they're orphans. They have an orphan's heart. That's been confirmed by many people since I've done interviews about that. So people haven't watched, and you mentioned the 1960s. It was going on before that, but in the 1960s, remember zero population growth? Immediately, they had the birth control pill. And then when that wasn't doing enough, they did the morning after pill. And then they brought in Roe, and Roe was never raped, never pregnant, never never needed an abortion. It was Gloria Allred that caused her to lie to get Roe versus Wade to the Supreme Court. And what did that do? That kept Roe from going to prison on her other criminal charges. This is
Wow.
what we're living with. And it was just a ruling. People don't understand. Supreme Court makes a ruling. They have an opinion. It's not law. And that's why Clarence Thomas, when he did that, gave 6 other cases they're going to review, because they made same-sex marriage a law. They made all these things a law. The Supreme Court does not make law in this land. It all has to get cleaned up. So if you're wondering how fast can we get a new currency and how fast can we get all this done and when are we going to know that the republic is being reestablished, stop. We have all of this other stuff that you and I can do something about. And that's why Father said, make this into a training manual. And I said, there's no way I can do it. And he said, well, with me, you can do it. And people are writing to me now saying this thing is like a syllabus. I mean, this is just like a syllabus for life. Guys, I didn't, he was Father. I can't take credit for that, because the way he put this together blows me away. And the information he kept giving me blows me away. But all of these stages they took us through. And then they called our generations millennials, and then they were X, Y, and Z before 2020. So between 2000 and 2020, we had 4 different generations. We had the millennials, the X, the Y, and the Z. And the Z have no way to have income or get a house or get a car or have a good, decent job even when they go to college. It's like, what did we do? Who are you and I for the future generations. What were we doing to preserve these blessings for the current generation to pass on to the third and fourth generation? So that is the evil agenda that was done to destroy your family, to the point that now most family members aren't even talking to each other. And it all was planned
That's
out.
true.
And it's painful. But what Father
Yep.
reminded me of, I just went through a family situation with my mom's passing, and Father reminded me, even when Stephen was being stoned to death, what did he say? Do not hold this against them, Father, for what they are doing. If he had not said that, would Saul, who coordinated all the killings of believing men, would Saul have had a chance to become Paul on the road to Damascus if it had not been pulled away from him as what he was doing by Stephen making that comment, just like Christ on the cross? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. And Stephen said the same
Yep.
thing. And so I've had to think about it. I'm not being stoned to death. And no matter how bad it is, don't hold it against them, because the soul being whole is what's important to the Father. And everything about this evil plan against the family is so that your family members whole in their soul is going to keep them from being forgiving people, being truthful people, being the people that Father needs them to be, because your soul needs to be whole and not have unforgiveness and hate and anger and that same prayer with the Native Americans. And that's why I'm so glad, Michael, you put that up on the screen, because if people can go just stop the video and just read it themselves, it's that powerful. And if you could be praying that over your family so that your family releases all these things against each other, that would be so, so powerful. And then see what can happen. And now I have a surprise for you. Somebody sent me a
What's
video
that?
this morning. It's a surprise. It's a video, and I got it from somebody, and they sent it to me saying this was about me. She sends, her name is Betty, according to her sign in on X or Twitter, and it was adorable because her name is No CO dash incidents, no coincidence. It's a cute name, so I see it come up just like there's somebody named No Stickers, for me. And so, anyway, that was sent to me this morning. So, Michael, if you're ready to just pull it up and let us hear just a little bit of that.
I want to talk to you about a verse. Not in a religious way, not in a theological way, in a real way. Isaiah 41:10. 4 declarations written over 2,000 years ago, for a people who were destroyed, for a warrior who was on the ground, for someone exactly like you. Let's start at the beginning. Fear not. 2 words, too simple for the weight they carry. But pay attention to what God did not say. He did not say, fear not because you are strong. He did not say, fear not because things will get better. He did not say, fear not because you deserve it. He said, fear not because I am with you. The reason not to be afraid is not found in you, it is found in Him. And that changes everything. Because if the reason were you, then on the days when you are weak, you would have every reason to fear. On the days when you fail, you would have every reason to fear. On the days when you cannot hold on anymore, you would have every reason to fear. But the reason is Him. And He does not change, He does not weaken, He does not fail, He does not have bad days. So the promise does not depend on you, it depends on Him. Now the second part. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. The Hebrew word used here for dismayed means to look around in terror, to be paralyzed by what you see, to be in a moment when your circumstances are so large they fill your entire horizon and you cannot see anything else. And God is saying, stop looking at what is around you, look at who is with you. Because when you look at the problem grows. When you look at God, the problem shrinks. Not because the problem disappeared, but because you remember the size of who is standing beside you. Third part. Strengthen you. Not, I encourage you to find strength. Not, I am asking you to be stronger. I will strengthen you! That means the strength is not yours to find, it is His to give, and that is a game changer. because you have already tried to be strong enough. You have already tried to hold on alone. You have already tried to hide from everyone that on the inside you are falling apart. And it did not work, because you were not made to be strong alone. You were made to receive His strength. There is a massive difference between a man trying to be strong and a man being strengthened by God. The first one eventually breaks, the second one becomes unbreakable, and the fourth part, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. The right hand, throughout all of Scripture, the right hand of God is the symbol of His maximum power, of His total authority, of His limitless capacity. And He's saying, I will not hold you with a finger. I will not hold you from a distance. I will not stabilize you with minimum effort. I will uphold you with my right hand, with everything I have, with all my strength, with all my authority, with all my faithfulness. Do you know what that means?
Those are the 4 points, and
Powerful.
it goes on for 17 minutes. We heard like 3 minutes. It goes on for 17 minutes, explains the whole thing. This guy started this channel. I think it's a fairly new channel. I looked, there's like 6 or 7 other videos. He already sent me another one tonight because I signed up today. But this is one is called Unbreakable. The YouTube channel is Awakened Warrior is the name of the channel. This one's called Unbreakable. And so I retweeted it out. And I said, the best example of this is POTUS, real Donald Trump, Poppy Trumpo, because look at what he has been through. And you guys know I've been through a lot. So I appreciate all the wonderful comments about, but Sheila, you never talked about the targeting. Somebody just told us they had cancer and they wanted some help. And I said, well, when I was targeted, I had cancer down my left side, double breast cancer, where I took the kill shot. And I was explaining this to him, and people said, you never told us about this. But it's because I don't live there. Look at me. Look what Father has brought me through. Not anybody in my life thought I would live. Nobody. The doctor didn't think I'd live. The specialist one sent me to didn't think I would live. My nutritionist didn't think I would live. And the really good friend I've known since I did my first TV interview in Augusta, Georgia back in 2016, that woman has been close to me the whole time, and she would cut some fruit and bring it over. But her family said, don't get too close to her, because nobody knew what was going on with the targeting. Because if I hadn't lived through it, we wouldn't have found the patent. But I'm the only one living through all the COVID, cobra venom doses and et cetera. But people didn't know that. But it's because I've already been tested through putting those judges in prison. I've already been tested through taking the economic fraud DA to court and getting him sentenced on felony fraud. And those 3 judges and top trial attorneys sentenced on federal RICO racketeering charges because they were operating behind the scenes to do a hostile takeover of my corporation. How dare you? But people say, how did this happen? I said, they didn't know who they were up against, because I wasn't alone. A pastor in London said, I'm supposed to give you my CD. His first CD is Faithful. And faithful is it, Christ is your attorney. Faithful is it. And so I had that playing in my car constantly. I was just rereading it and re-listening to it, rewinding it and re-listening to it. And that kind of faith. And this song is exactly like that. So I hope you will go to YouTube, go to Awakened Warrior, and you look at the titles. This one is Unbreakable, and it goes on for 17 minutes. Isn't that interesting? And in those 17 minutes, you will see it increase your faith and your strength and understanding that I'm not alone. I haven't done any of these books alone. Everybody thinks the wisdom Sheila has. I keep saying, it's the Father. It's the boss. Remember, the president points up, he goes, it's the boss that's doing this. And that's who it is. I'm your average person. Anybody in my family, any of my friends from, grade school all the way through, they know I'm just your average person. And they do say, what's happened to you, Sheila? You've changed a lot. I said, I'm old. I'm a lot older now than I was when we were in grade school, off in country school. Yeah.
Yeah. Called wisdom. Thank you for sharing all that. And to our viewers, I encourage you to visit His Best. It's been up on the screen, hisbest.org, Sheila's website. And there's a video that was produced on the site that talks about her trials and tribulations and triumphs. And I encourage you to learn more about Sheila from that short, well-produced video. Also, if our producer want to put up copies of the books again, which is what the points that we've been discussing each and every month are based out of, An Eternal Plan, Next image. Well, there are 2 books. Anyway, there's 19
For the
books.
sake of America.
But,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but thank you
We
very
have
much, and I
we
encourage our.
may have a
Go
couple
ahead.
moments to
There we go.
just run that video at the end if you want to close out with that video. We haven't played it since the first interview, I don't think. So
Oh, yes. Yeah, all right. So, I don't know. Yes, Michael, we'll get that from the website. There's a video, I believe it was on the homepage, as I recall.
it's on the
And
homepage right at the top. Mhm.
let's run that. Let's run that. Not now. When Sheila and I sign off in just a moment, let's go ahead
Mhm.
and run that. Thank you for mentioning it. I think that's very good to do. So stay tuned, folks. I'm going to take a brief break, an announcement about Eyes on Gitmo, and then I'll come back with my closing brief talking points, and then we'll run that video. We're going to end this broadcast short. It's been very, very what's the word? A lot of disruptive, uncomfortable truths, and a lot of God's light shining throughout your dialogue, and I greatly appreciate it. I've got a flight to catch, as you know, going to see a mutual friend of ours
Mhm.
who's over here in Bangkok. So I'm going to hop a flight in just a little bit and go sit down face to face. It's been 2 years with our good friend, Mr. Juan O'Savin. I know
Mhm.
you've had more opportunities to be with Juan being in the States, so you know what a gift that is to sit down and hours go by like seconds. I mean, it's just the hours just it goes so fast. Being involved in discussions with Juan. But anyway, any closing comments from you, Sheila, before we close out and run that video clip? And believe me, folks, if you hadn't seen it, you want to watch it. I don't know how long it is, Sheila, probably under 5 minutes, but a very, very give you some good insights into who Sheila Holm is, what her journey has been and is. And I, I'm glad you mentioned that. Any closing comments, Sheila, before we wrap up?
Well, the powerful I was on last night on the premium portal. Anybody who's not on the premium portal, you should go on the
Mm.
premium portal, even just for last night. That one with Juan O'Savin. And it was so adorable as you kept trying to keep him. You said, could we just do a question for 5 minutes and I'll tell you when the 5 minutes is up? And he said, is that a Juan O'Savin
Good
5 minutes or did you mean your 5 minutes? Because he couldn't. But guys, it was easily an hour and a half. It was so powerful. And I
Mhm.
stayed in the background, but somebody wrote on there, I saw you at a Simi Valley, California car wash. And I'm so sorry, as before I knew who you were, and now I know who you are, and I can't wait till we have another conversation the next. But I converse with people and tell them things, and then they find out later that was me. The glasses give it away. But you're right about Juan. A 45-minute call is so refreshing, and an hour and a half is so deep. And each time I tell myself I'm going to make notes. And so when you get ready to hear that from last night, guys, get out a notepad and a pen and make some notes, because when Juan says these things, because every time I hang up, because it's so deep, I stay right in the conversation, and as soon as I hang up, I say, why didn't I take any notes? Next time I'm going to. And the next time he goes even deeper, and it's just and what happened when we went through this 1607 landing with the three ships by King James. King James is the one who had put the pilgrims in jail repeatedly, stole the money from them when the captains turned them in, let the money go to the captains of the ships, the three ships who turned them in to be jailed again and lose their money again after King James took away all their land, their assets, everything. And so, of course, he could fund coming and bringing three ships here, but it wasn't to help the people. And as we said tonight, the Native Americans knew the Gospels would never have been in America if the Pilgrims had not brought the Gospels here, because the people who came after that have no interest in the Gospels whatsoever. And so that's where we are today. But in coming through that, Juan met with the president about all of these things on a Friday, and 2 days after that, we started a conversation. And because of his phone calls, my phone calls, we kept going off the call, back on the call. That was the most miraculous day of my life. And I was leaving at dark 30 the next morning for the Week in Texas Summit. And I drive everywhere with the America First team. And he said, I need to let you. And I said, no, sir, no, sir. And then I would mention a topic and he goes, well, I'm glad you were going to mention that because of this. And that's the depth that's possible. And so I know some of you get a little frustrated when he gives long answers, but he's talking to the whole crowd. And when Father has us do these things and explain it in greater detail, it's because Father knows who's out there that's hearing this message and he wants to get it across to them. So you've got a really, really amazing man who's very, very tight with the team and with the president in Juan. And what a gift to have him as a friend.
Without question. Well, thank you, Sheila. I'll be hopping on a plane to spend marathon hours with Juan and his beautiful wife, Jennifer Mack. I very much look forward to it. It's been 2 years since he and I have been in the same room together. And as you well know, it's a treasure trove of inspiration and information. And also, Juan and I will try and get down a special broadcast and publish it next week for our viewers as well. Anyway, thank you. Special Report with Sheila Holm publishes each and every month. So be sure to continue to bookmark and follow us and visit hisbest.org. I'll be right back after this important announcement, and then we'll listen to that video that you really want to hear, the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of Sheila Holm. Thank you, Sheila. Good to see you. We'll see you next